Welcome back, everyone. Today we're diving into a story that begins with a quiet discovery, a buried chain in a backyard, and unravels into something far more profound. It's a tale of loss, secrets, and the enduring hope of a father who refused to give up. As you listen, pay close attention to the small details, because sometimes the truth lies just beneath the surface, waiting to be unearthed. Stay curious. This is one journey you won't want to pause. Girl goes missing for 5 years until dad pulls buried chain in yard. But before we dive into this incredible story, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more jaw-dropping content you won't want to miss. What's coming next? When Michaela Limsey vanished 5 years ago, her father Jack had his life upended. There had been no sign of her, no answers, only an aching hole in his soul. The agony was unimaginable, and it plagued him every minute of every day. However, one afternoon, Jack made a discovery while gardening in his yard. He gripped it firmly and yanked it out of the cool dirt. He had no idea he was set to reveal a secret that had been buried for 5 years. Jack had been faced with several obstacles in his own life before his precious little girl had vanished. Jack's relationship with Michaela's mom had been on the rocks. In the end, they chose to separate and later divorce. The vicious fights in court that followed had left behind trauma that would never fully heal. The divorce settlement left Jack with full custody of their daughter, while his ex got their house and most of what had been their life together. The most difficult days were those right after the divorce and custody dispute had been settled. However, in spite of everything, Jack had only gotten stronger as a result of the ordeal. He poured all his efforts into his job, devoted to giving Michaela the happiest life he could. As time went by, Jack was facing the solitude of being a single parent. Because he'd been concentrating on his job and raising his daughter, his romantic life had faded away. He was becoming increasingly lonely, encouraging him to risk stepping back onto the dating scene. He longed for the type of intimacy he could never find it in the bond of a father and daughter. Then, unexpectedly, one evening it all came to a head. Light returned to his life in the form of Alisa. With her compassion, empathy, and tenderness, she helped to soothe the wounds left on his heart by his ex-wife. Alisa represented a new beginning and lit a hope of fulfillment in Jack. Jack's relationship with Alisa had gone better than he ever could have dreamed. After 2 years together, he proposed, and soon after they were married. For a long time, Alisa had been Jack's rock and a source of empathy and support. She'd seen the scars from the past and did everything she could to help him heal. Eventually, her love and sanctuary extended to Michaela as well, protecting both father and daughter from life's hardships. In this unfamiliar happiness, it was interrupted by something terrible. Michaela had vanished. The 13-year-old had gone out with some friends on a Saturday and never came home. Her friends alleged that Michaela had gone home in an Uber, but Jack and Alisa hadn't seen any trace of her. They immediately filed a report, and as the investigation began, the anxious couple hoped for the best. Michaela's mysterious disappearance caused the happiness of Jack and Alisa's marriage to fall apart. The two of them began an endless search, forever hopeful that they might find their precious daughter. When the first year ended, there were still no promising leads on where Michaela could have disappeared to. Another year followed in the same manner, then 2 more. Their hope was starting to run out, leaving them with only a permanent hole in their hearts. Michaela's friends and family slowly started giving up on tracking her down, as did the investigators. Jack was the only one who still held on to a thread of hope, but it was soon overshadowed by the pain of a grieving father. It should have been obvious to him that he wasn't looking in the right place. The shadows of doubt had always loomed over Jack. They'd emerged about an hour after he declared Michaela missing. Accusations from his ex-wife intensified, blaming him for Michaela's disappearance. Camilla took this chance to open legal battle after legal battle, draining Jack emotionally and financially. His world once again teetered on the very brink of collapse. But through the tumultuous legal battles and the weight of uncertainty, Alisa stood by Jack's side. Her love never wavered, and she became his pillar of strength. Her devotion, however, couldn't erase the anguish etched on Jack's face. Still, she did everything in her power to alleviate his pain. But deep down, there was something she was hiding. Another year passed, marking the 5th anniversary of Michaela's disappearance. By now, Jack had become a fragmented soul, haunted by the ghost of his daughter's disappearance. The pain etched lines on his face, and his eyes carried the weight of grief that refused to subside. Alice, watching him crumble, felt a helplessness she couldn't dispel. As Jack landscaped his yard one fateful morning, the metallic clink echoed through the silence. His gardening tools had struck against something metallic buried deep within the soil. He unearthed it, a buried chain, its links glistening with the morning dew. Jack's curiosity piqued, dusted off the mud, unaware that this chain held the key to unraveling a dark secret. The chain, once pulled, resisted with both hands. He grabbed tightly and heaved, but the earth didn't let up. He tried again and again, but nothing helped. Stepping back, he held his waist as he tried to remember if he'd ever seen this chain before. But Jack couldn't remember planting the chain into the ground. As Jack strained against the stubborn earth, he realized the chain wasn't just tangled. It seemed anchored to something buried deep below. Frustration crept in, but curiosity overshadowed it. With each pull, the soil revealed its resistance, intensifying the mystery. Jack's mind continued to race with questions, fueling an insatiable desire to unearth the secrets entangled beneath the relentless grip of the stubborn earth. If only he knew what he was about to uncover. Realizing he needed more than his simple gardening tools, Jack decided to call his neighbor Russo, who had a collection of digging equipment. Together they formed a determined duo armed with shovels and a shared determination to unravel whatever lay beneath the surface of Jack's once tranquil garden. Jack and Russo dug for hours, following the rust-eaten metallic links of the chain. The soil resisted, but their shared curiosity and anticipation and fueled their efforts. With each passing moment, the air buzzed with excitement. Jack felt like the problems he'd stewed in for the last 5 years had dissolved. For a moment, he felt at peace, but pain like he'd never experienced before would befall him when he reached the end of that chain. The two continued digging, and finally the metallic edges of a chest revealed themselves. Jack and Russo, breathless with excitement, heaved it out of the ground. Its size sent a chill down their spines, hinting at a dark mystery. They could tell the chest was big enough to fit someone in, someone young. The moment the chest emerged, changed everything for Jack. Erosion had weakened the lock, and with a forceful twist, it gave way. Jack didn't know what to expect as he opened the chest. The lid creaked open, revealing not treasures but piles of papers, notes, clothes, shoes, and jackets. As the two neighbors sifted through the contents, they discovered old diaries detailing a harrowing story of guilt and involvement in a terrible crime. Though vague at first, the entries narrated a dark account that shouldn't have been brought to light. Each page turned revealed a layer of despair. Jack couldn't believe that such a sinister chest had existed right under his nose for all this time. If only he knew who the accounts talked about. The more Jack read, the more familiar the guilt felt. At once, he thought about his Michaela lost. The accounts in the diaries echoed the pain he had experienced 5 years ago when she vanished. As Jack continued to read, he couldn't shake the feeling that this story felt familiar. The circumstances explained in the pages he was holding hit close to home. To make things worse, he could recognize the handwriting, and just like that, things changed. His suspicions about his wife's involvement in Michaela's disappearance started to take shape. Jack remembered feeling like Alisa was hiding something. He could see how uncomfortable she seemed in her attempts to soothe his pain. It had felt like she was trying too hard, as if she was covering up something. Before involving anyone else or pointing any fingers, Jack decided to ask Alisa about the diaries. He showed her the pages and the clothes, watching her face change from denial to shock. Alisa ran into the backyard where chaos awaited her. The neatly landscaped area now resembled a crime scene. The earth disturbed by Jack and Russo's digging was a clear sign that her secret was up. The once pristine backyard could no longer contain the evil she did 5 years ago. With nowhere to run, Alisa broke down and confessed. She started with the biggest question: why had she done all this when Jack had done nothing but love and respect her? The answer lay with his ex-wife Camilla, who had orchestrated everything. There were more bombshells that would rip Jack's life apart. She wanted to make you suffer, a sad Alisa said. She came to me with threats, blackmail, and whatnot. She threatened my family, my little brothers and dad, threatened to come for you as well. Jack found himself seated on the carpet, his head in his hands. How could this be? She's alive, Alisa added meekly. Michaela, she's alive and well. After everything she'd known and allowed him to endure, why would she torment him with this? Alisa revealed that she and Michaela had secretly been in contact for the last 5 years. Camilla had whisked the girl out of the state to her in-laws in Alaska, and Alisa had fought tooth and tail to find her. She never stopped talking to her, updating her about her dad's well-being, but she couldn't tell Jack as she knew what he was capable of. He'd go straight to Alaska, and the consequences would rain down. I'm okay with facing the consequences of my actions, Alisa said. The next few months saw her attend court sessions, but she wasn't the one on trial. She stood as a witness against Camilla, who had vehemently denied the accusations Jack flung at her. She stood by Jack as he fought for justice. The courtroom became a battleground where truth and lies clashed. It was the least she could do after everything she'd been involved in. After a prolonged legal struggle, the court found Camilla guilty of her malicious deeds. The sentence was a bittersweet victory for Jack and Alisa, who had battled not just for Michaela's return, but for the truth. The verdict marked the end of one chapter in the beginning of another, a chapter where justice, though served at the end of Camilla's defeat, came a long-awaited reunion. Jack, filled with a mix of relief and anger, reunited with his daughter. The joy of finding her alive couldn't erase the scars of the past, but it marked the beginning of healing. Camilla faced the consequences of her actions, serving her sentence for the pain she inflicted. Having confessed her role, Alisa embraced a path of redemption through community service. As for Michaela and Jack, a 5-year-long nightmare had finally ended. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you never miss another unbelievable tale like this one. Until next time, take care and stay curious.